we have to talk about just everything relating to Liverpool at this moment in time. That performance, I think, exposes a lot in terms of Liverpool's squad, Liverpool's head coach, Liverpool's recruitment. What are your initial thoughts after that defeat, mate?
Well, I think it was a shambles. I really do. I don't think the performance was anywhere near good enough. I think we started it pretty well, as we talked about during the game, mate. And, you know, that first sort of 25 minutes, we were okay. But we're so fragile, aren't we? We're so, I think, mentally weak as a squad at the moment, that we're not able to deal with adversity in any way, shape or form, you know, when it goes against us. And contrary to that, we fought our way back into the game today. But ultimately, it's a results business, and Liverpool have lost another game of football. 4 draws and a loss in our last 5 in the Premier League is nowhere near good enough for this group of players. Now, it is a smaller group because of the injuries to Alexander Isak, because Ibu Konate, unfortunately, couldn't be with us because of the sad thing, you know, that's happened to him and his family over the last week and stuff. But you know, I think there's questions to be had around the manager. I think there's questions around the players and the performances that they're putting in. I think there's questions about Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes as well. And I think we're going to sort of get into that, aren't we, Steve? But one of the things that me and you both brought up during the watch-along is the fitness thing at the club at the moment. I mean, Ekitike's not able to start the game because we're led to believe it's a fitness thing, and we've seen him sort of tire on 70 in games, and he comes on in this one, and you know, there's players who just aren't tracking back, are just not able to. And, you know, it's a consistent thing all season long, isn't it? Where players just look tired. And is it the intensity with which we're trading at that doesn't allow us for those 90 minutes? Is it the fact that we have got a slightly reduced squad at the moment? And, you know, players are being asked to go again and again. Is it something more than that? I don't know. Is it the fact that we haven't got, you know, everyone that we need in this squad? We're desperately short of a centre-half. It looks like we're letting Andy Robertson inexplicably leave in January, if the rumours are to be believed about a potential move to Tottenham Hotspur. That seems crazy to me that you would do that at this time. We're in a fight for 4th place. We shouldn't be in a fight for 4th place in this league. We're the league champions, and we've dropped off so much because of, you know, some extenuating circumstances in the summer, and some decisions that we've made ourselves. You know, Liverpool decided to sell Luis Diaz. You know, did they have to sell him? It was a decision that they made. You know, and you know, Jarell Kwanzaa looked like a crazy decision as well a while ago, admittedly now. But you know, we're in a situation where the squad doesn't look right. It doesn't look like the manager's able to get out of the players what we need them to get out of the players. And you know, for me personally, I never want to jump on the bandwagon of sacking a manager, and you know, I'm not going to stand here today and tell you that I think that Arne Slot should leave and Liverpool should sack him, but I could understand if Liverpool did now, because I do not know whether he can get the best out of this squad as it currently is. You know, and I've said all season long I wouldn't sack him because of the extenuating circumstances with the tragic loss of Diogo Jota and everything. But as time goes by, Steve, it's just, there's more evidence piling up, unfortunately, against Slot. And I used the line, and I've used it a couple of times, about, you know, there's peacetime prime ministers and wartime prime ministers, and right now Slot doesn't look like a wartime prime minister, you know, but when everything's going well, he's able to get the best out of it. But what happens when you're in the trenches? Are you able to get the best out of this squad? And you know, at Marseille, just a few days ago, it looked like he could. And right now it doesn't. And, you know, I worry because Liverpool need Champions League football. We've invested a lot of money into this squad, and we unfortunately need that money to move forward. And I think Liverpool will be starting to get twitchy about whether they're going to be able to get into the top 4. You know, Manchester United have changed their manager and they had a good result at the weekend. Chelsea still scoring more goals than us, although completely inconsistent. Fulham have shot up the table. And Liverpool just seem to be spinning the wheels in mud at the moment and don't seem to be able to get anything going consistently. But the fitness thing, Steve, I mean, I know it's driving you up the wall, mate, but how are we lacking so much energy late on in games? I just don't get it, mate.
No, well, like I say, it's not the first time Liverpool have conceded late again. Early on the season they scored late, but you think back, you know, there's been, you know, Chelsea and Palace and Leeds. United was an injury time, but it was late on today. And for example, Hugo Ekitike, and I know a lot of people were upset that Hugo didn't start. And listen, I completely understand that he's our only fit centre forward. But then I watch him for half an hour, and he looks absolutely knackered. And I was like, I'm not surprised this lad wasn't on the pitch to start because he can't run. That one, I don't know if lucky is the right word, but like the fact that it was the goal that conceded from a throw-in is one thing. If Evan Nielsen would have scored that chance when Liverpool were running in quicksand and there was a lad who ran 70 yards, just like Semenyo did, by the way, in the first game of the season, except this time there wasn't a shot, it was a pass and a shot. That to me was a massive issue for Liverpool. Like they're not anywhere near fit enough. That is on the manager, and that is on his coaching staff, and it's on the players as well. So it's a difficult one, Chris, like I say. It's also, I think, let's have a little look at the recruitment side and Michael Edwards or Richard Hughes and whoever, the ownership, whoever's making some of these decisions. Liverpool ended that game with Dominic Szoboszlai at right back, with Taro Endo at centre back, and Andy Robertson at left back, who might be leaving the football club this week by some accounts, which is crazy. That the squad depth isn't there. I understand there's been injuries, and I completely understand. I sympathise with that. But there's been one injury at right back. Like, we've only lost Conor Bradley at right back. Centre half's a little bit different, of course. No Leone, no Canate due to personal reasons. But then Joe Gomez gets injured in the game as well. But the squad is very imbalanced. It's just very, very messy is what it is. And I think, this idea that they're going to not bring a defender in this window, it seems ludicrous now. We don't know where Joe's at with that injury, but who knows? It feels at this moment in time, mate, it's not good enough from the players, it's not good enough from the manager, and it doesn't feel like it's being good enough from those who are making the decisions about the squad, whether that's Slot or Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, whoever it is. Because at this moment in time, it's all a massive mess. And like I say, if they want to go and say Harness Slot, I think they'd be well justified. And if they do, it's fair enough. And I don't think the manager will have too many complaints. One of the complaints he could have, though, Chris, is he's probably thinking, have I got all the tools I need to succeed? I think he's got more tools. Listen, he's got more tools to succeed than what we're showing right now. Liverpool aren't this bad in the league, in particular. But I think it's also a valid question to ask those above that. How can we be thinking about letting a defender go? We need to be thinking about bringing some of them in, surely.
Yeah, these decisions don't make sense to me. And I don't know what it is, why we would be considering letting Andy Robertson leave when we're desperately short of defenders at the club. Unfortunately, Joe Gomez is Joe Gomez. We know he's a good player, but we know he can't stay fit. And it's a really unlucky one today. That could have been avoided if Virgil van Dijk had just dealt with the football, by the way. But as it stands, he's injured right now, and as you say, Endo's on the pitch. But I come back to it, and I think I said this on the podcast maybe last week or something, Steve. But there's two ways of attacking an NFL draft. You go best player available, or you go your needs. And Liverpool, for me, probably looked at it and went best player available in the summer, and not actually what the squad needed. I think it's easy to look back at hindsight and say we changed too much too soon, but I think when you look at the side that we put out today, you got Frimpong, who's a new player, in there, you had Kerkez in there, who's a new player. You've also got Ekatika, so you've got Wirtz in there as well, who's a new player. So, and we've consistently had 3 or 4 new signings in teams all season long, and, that experience is just sort of been ebbed away at over the last sort of 18 months or so, hasn't it, of the players that really took us on that journey with Jürgen and built us up into this force. And, it takes time sometimes when you do make new signings. We saw that when Jürgen decided to change the midfield. Probably didn't work that season, but we reaped the benefit of it last season, certainly, with, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, McAllister all coming into the club. But it feels right now like, we've gone into this season with Frimpong and Bradley at right back, and Bradley's had his injury issues. So right now we're left just with Jeremy Frimpong. We've got Kerkez, who's taken a little bit of time to sort of get into it, and Robertson, who maybe hasn't dealt with not starting every game in the best manner. We've had poor form from Ibu Kanate. Now we've had a Joe Gomez injury when he's come in there, leaving us with Endo in the middle of the park. We haven't been able to, we've been chopping and changing the midfield, trying to find the right balance, but we're just not quite there yet. We've had the Mo Salah situation and everything else, and I'll be honest, it doesn't look like a football club right now that is all pulling in the same direction. It feels like, Robertson talking about Tottenham, we've had Salah talking about whether it was going to be his last game at Brighton, all these things, and it's just little by little edging away at Liverpool's sort of, DNA at the moment. And this side is just so lacking confidence, it's lacking fitness, and you can direct that ire at Arne Slot, you can direct your ire at the players if you want to, the same, you can direct your fury at Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, but I think when the club there looks like there's so many issues at the moment that at best we're spinning plates. At best, but we're spinning so many plates right now with everything, questioning whether the squad's been built well, whether the manager's right, whether the players are fit enough. We're just on the edge all the time, and we're just not able to sort of kick on and improve. And ultimately, I think, the decisions might be wrong upstairs, but I think it's the manager that may end up falling for those decisions. And it's a difficult place to be.
On that as well, Chris, right? What I would say, and I think Arne Slot will, and this is where I do think he deserves a lot of criticism, and I think it's justified, a lot of the criticism he's getting, his team are soft as shit. Yeah. And that comes from your leader. Your leader is the person who installs the mentality of your football team. And when you're right, when things were going well last year, Liverpool, and even actually at the start of the season, Liverpool's mentality seemed strong. Last minute winners, we were all praising, the mentality monsters are here. Liverpool are soft as shite now, and that comes from your manager. I heard this, he was speaking before at the press conference, and he did say, the players ran out of energy towards the end. I'd agree with him on that one as well. And I think some of that is not all on him. I think that is on the recruitment of the squad as well. The options are limited, and I think more needs to be done to address that. More needed to be done already. I can't believe we're in this stage of January and they haven't signed anyone. But I agree, listen. I agree. I'm talking about myself. A point I made is that ultimately the buck stops with the manager, and that's what I said to you today. Liverpool today, I'll be honest, I thought they were pretty good for 20 minutes and then pretty rubbish for 60, 70 of them. They got back into the game with a set-piece, two set-piece goals. They didn't really create or look like they were going to massively score goals. So, for me, the manager will take a lot of responsibility. I think, actually, the result Liverpool got was what the performance deserved, for truth. I go back to it. If Evan Nielsen scores that goal, we're looking at one of the worst goals Liverpool have ever conceded. It was absolutely dreadful. So, I think if the players aren't fit, I go back to it, that's on the manager. And if the mentality is wrong, I think that's on the manager as well. So, now, does that mean he has to go? It might, maybe. I'll be honest, I'm quite conflicted, is my point. I feel some sympathy for him, but I also, I put the needs of Liverpool Football Club above any man or manager, and I'm not sure at this moment in time things are going to turn around. And now, I don't know who comes in. Is it Xabi Alonso, Steven Gerrard? I don't know what the solution would be, but I'm finding it really tough to sit here and go, I'm finding a million reasons that we should keep Arne Slot in terms of what we're seeing now, Chris. I just have a bit of sympathy for him for what he's been through and what the team have been through, but it is pretty dire, the situation, in terms of the domestic form, isn't it?
I'm the same as you, Steve. I think conflicted is a really great word to use, because Arne Slot proved last season that he was able and capable of winning a league title, and I think I've heard you talk on shows about, it being over-egged that he won it with Jurgen's side. Jurgen's side finished third the year before, as you've put it in previous shows, and Arne Slot is the difference. He turns that side into league winners at a canter as well. But, on this season's evidence, you've got to worry whether he is the right man for this job here today, and there's questions around whether the squad was built right, of course, but I think that ultimately coming out of that result against Bournemouth, the players need to take a hard, long look at themselves and ask themselves whether they are doing everything they can to get Liverpool out of this. I think the manager needs to do exactly the same, and I think the people in the office upstairs need to do the same, whether they're giving the manager the tools to do this, because it doesn't look right at the moment, and you can point your finger at the players, the manager, or the front office staff, and I think you'd come up with they're all not doing very well at the moment. But as I said before, normally one person takes the fall for all of that, and it is the manager. So whether Liverpool are panicking maybe around Champions League positioning, and whether they are able to get the money and survive if they don't get that money of Champions League, and all the brand things that come along with that, a decision might have to be made by the football club to bring in somebody. And, I don't see it, unless they can get Xabi Alonso, as it will be a long-term appointment next. It may well be an interim to see what's going on and see the lay of the land in the summer. But, we're in dire straits at the moment, and something definitely needs to happen, whether that's the manager needs to move aside, whether it's the players need to do better, the training needs to change, whatever. I don't know the answers. I can't stand here and tell you that I do, because I don't think I know the answer at the moment, and I don't think I can see the wood for the trees, because I am, just as I said, conflicted.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. That was a clip from our player ranking show. To check out the full show, head on over to the Redmen Plus app.